Can you hear me? Can you
I
hear
hear
me?
you now.
Good
Yeah.
evening. Good evening, Facebook, Washington, D.C., and everyone who's tuning in right now. My name is Earl Rush, and I am the host of Straight Up Talk with Earl Rush. And this
Thank
evening,
you.
I had the honor and the privilege to be interviewing one of the hardest working ladies in the Latin dance field on the East or the West Coast. She is co producer with her father of the longest running Latin dance social in the DMV. Did you hear what I said? She's the co-producer along with her father of the longest running Latin dance social in the DMV for 15 years. I'll let you think about that for me. Okay. Beautiful lady, shrewd businesswoman. Not gonna let you take advantage of her. She's strong, she's educated, she's got it all. She's a mother, she's a wife, she works, she runs a social, she takes care of her father. I'm so honored this lady found any time at all to take time out to talk to me. Ladies and gentlemen, I bring to you the fabulous Tanya Smith. Good evening, Tanya. How are you today?
Good evening, Earl. Thank you for that fabulous intro.
No, I'm surprised that you even had time to take out time to talk to me. And by the way, I want to wish your father a very happy birthday, and I want to wish you a happy Facebook anniversary as well.
I know we were just talking about how crazy it is. We have our anniversary for our friend's anniversary. It's my dad's birthday, and you weeks ago arranged for this interview. What are the odds?
What are the odds? I think this interview was meant to happen. That's what I'm thinking.
Absolutely, it's
Yeah.
destiny.
Yeah. So Tanya, 15 years. Wow. I have some lady friends that they just did an event and they were highlighting ladies of color that don't get their recognition in the scene. Okay, it was Carmen Guillen, the producer of St. Louis Salsa Bachata Festival, and
Oh,
Mary.
awesome.
Yeah, they had a fabulous event. They had Leah Patterson, they had
Okay,
Stacy Paulin, and the
sure.
ladies from the West Coast. It was nice, and I really thought that was great because it's rough for people of color in this industry. And I'm thinking, well, that's true, but no one gives the ladies who organize it credit. No one gives Carmen credit, or no one gives you credit. I mean, to have the longest running social in the DMV and Washington D.C. is a hotbed for salsa. Even when salsa's not hot, we're still hot. That is such an accomplishment.
Well, thank you, but I think my dad is really the source of that success. So I'm kind of along for the ride. There's nepotism big time with me, so I'm not
Right.
sure I can claim that type of credit. I was pretty much forced by you and my dad to step up. so,
Yeah. But
so you know how that goes.
you were actually dragged into this. You didn't even want to do this. Your father
I
made you come to the social and dance, right?
Yeah, he started Mr. Mambo's in 2005 initially as a haven for his students. He wanted his students who were so faithful, who came out all the time to DC Dance Collective to his classes on Sunday. He wanted them to have an opportunity to practice what he taught, and to put it into application and not just theory, in the studio. And when he started it, I was a little intimidated with people coming, and I'm not going to lie, because at the time he started it, it started off auspicious. We had Orlando Machuca and I believe Elizabeth. They were the featured performers, and a lot of people came out, and it was really fabulous. But after that first time, it pretty much settled in the doldrums. We were not the hot social at that point. And I'm not going to lie, I was all about being with the cool people and that sort of thing, and they weren't checking us. So I pretty much was like, this is my dad's thing. This is not my thing. So I kind of stayed in the background. And it
Oh,
took my dad, it took Arthur Coleman to say, hey, you got to start promoting this for your dad. You need to start helping him. And then it took
Tanya,
you into the
you're,
picture.
go, you're, go- you're going in and out. Are you doing something with your sound?
No, I'm
Okay.
sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
I can barely hear you though.
Okay. All right. Let's see what I can do about that. I'm just trying to be cool. I didn't want to be wild and crazy on the interview with you, so I don't want to be all hyped up with anything. You know, I'm usually a loudmouth. I was trying to be cool.
No, you can make your volume higher if you can, because I can barely hear you.
Okay. Hmm. It's up. It's up.
Okay. Well, we'll just
Okay.
have to work with this.
All right. Okay. So you were dragged into this by your
Correct.
dad.
Correct.
And I assuming it was, as we always talk about it, that you was pretty much, because your level wasn't up to the dancers that were coming there. It was kind of hard for you maybe sometimes to get a dance, or you were maybe snubbed, maybe even.
Oh, for sure. My dad taught me how to dance on two years before he started the social. But what he taught me was the razzmatazz on two, or the hard two. And so I didn't realize there was this Eddie Torres on two that was really the opposite footwork. And it had, you counted off as one. The way my dad taught, you hit the beat immediately on two. So that definitely caused some off moments during the dance with people. And I didn't understand. I was like, I can hear the beat, but people were looking at me like I wasn't like that. So it took some time. So yeah, there was some snubbing, especially in New York, but even in DC, I felt like an outsider, and I was always behind the velvet, in front of the velvet rope, outside on the glass window pane, looking, let me in, guys, let me in, I can dance, but so it took time. It took time.
Yeah, it's bad. Can you hear me better now? Is that better? Can you hear me?
No,
better?
but that's okay. I can hear you.
Oh, that's not good at all. Crap. Shoot. How about now? Is that good?
Same.
Wow. Oh,
but I hear you. That's why I'm moving up to the camera.
Moving right along. Okay. It's sad that you got to go through that when you're a dancer, but I think that's in all fields and all genres. Everybody's not going to be kind to beginners. It's just a part.
Well, you know what? I didn't think it was a bad thing. It was inspiration. It was the motivation for me to get better. I didn't take it like I could not get to a certain level. I took it as, you're snubbing me. Guess what? I'm going to get better. You're going to want to dance with me. Right. So that was always my attitude.
And that was the attitude to have. But the problem with the dancing is everybody's attitude is not like that. And so,
True.
And that's one of the problems we're having with salsa today and other dances. They're making people feel left out because they are not at a certain level, But what can you do? It's easy. It's like this. If you want to dance with the good people who know how to dance well, you got to get better. It's not complicated. You're right.
You take classes like everyone else did. I mean, it's not complicated. You practice.
Yeah.
It's not going to come by osmosis.
Exactly. So I understand you went to the University of Virginia, and I'm not going to ask you.
Wahoo.
I'm not going to ask you when you went, but back when you did go, it's not like they had any kind of. They were making excuses for other people to get in that school. You have to be smart. To make a long story short, you have to be smart to get in the University of Virginia.
You did have to be. You definitely had to be smart. But I did go during the time where there was affirmative action.
Oh, okay.
That sort of thing. So yes, I mean, I was smart. I had good grades. I did well in the SATs. But we were always cast as UVA people with an asterisk because it was affirmative action during that time. And so there was always this fight at UVA about, who really got in and who got in as a token and that sort of thing. There weren't many people of color there at the time that I went.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, thank you for correcting me. I'm all loud and wrong, but thank you so much on that deal. Okay. So, so at that time, did they have any Latin dancing on campus when you were there?
If they did, I wasn't checking for it. I'm not going to even lie. I wasn't checking for it. I wasn't into salsa back then. And my dad, was playing with bands. He was playing some of those cuts even back then. He was trying to introduce me and my brother to it. And first, there was the language barrier. And second, I was into, house music. I was into go-go. I was into hip-hop. I was into R&B. And actually from UVA, I actually got into music heavily, and that kind of took me down a different path. And I actually tried to do the music thing. I started a record label called Ebon Dragon Records, and I went in the hood and got some rappers, and I did that whole thing. Shout out to Herb White, shout out to Jeannie Jones from DC. All of us were hustling back then, trying to put DC on the map.
Wow.
I failed. They were successful. I failed.
Well, what can you do? All you can do is try, right?
Hey,
I like your earrings. Did you get dressed up for this interview? Did you get dressed up because you want to be on it? I mean, you always look good, but you look very good tonight.
Thank you. I clean up okay. I clean up okay.
All right. Okay. So, tried the record thing. Okay. And you've done other various jobs, I'm sure. So we're going back to the salsa thing. You're dragged into it for your father. You're getting snubbed, but your makeup is like, I'm going to get this. And he goes to dance with me. Okay. You finally get to that place because I've seen you dance with some real top flight dancers, not only in DC, but in New York as well. When did you start becoming an addict, a salsa dance addict?
Well, I was a salsa dance addict before I really started trying to help my dad. So I think that started in 2005. To be honest, like I said, I was dragged into it. The reason I got more into it was because of a boy or a guy. And that person started saying, hey, you need to, instead of teaching with your dad, why don't you go out to Zanzibar? Why aren't you going to these different places? And he didn't understand. I was only helping my dad at the time because for a period, we weren't that close. And I felt like I was evolving into a more mature person and a better perspective about, maintaining family ties. And so I started hanging out with my dad as a way for us to reconnect. And so when I got into it, he was into this Mambo and salsa really heavy. He was teaching at Chief Ike's. And so I was doing it for 5 years prior to 2005, but I wasn't really going out unless he dragged me. And I wasn't into it when he would drag me to these different places. But because I liked the guy in the class who said I needed to go to these places, it kind of opened my eyes through his passion. And I was like, wait a minute, this is kind of cool. And I started falling in love with Romantica.
Okay.
And so I was like, wait a minute, I think I actually like this music. So, but then people didn't want to dance with me. And so that sparked the competitive nature. And I was like, oh, this is not going to happen. You're going to want to dance with me. So that's how that happened.
Right. Yeah. Then you started going up to New York, taking classes, meeting people, and the parties are still going on. It's a wonderful thing. So, at that point, did you ever think you would get to, I guess you wouldn't think that you were going to be going to New York, traveling and everything, but did you ever think that you might possibly go over to Europe? Tell us about your experiences when you went over to the event that Jimmy Yoon was producing. Tell us about that.
So that was SalsaCon. Fabulous, fabulous event that General James Yoon, Jimmy Yoon, to those of us who love him in DC, fabulous event that he organized from DC with his people in South Korea. And I went with, I took the plane with Scott and Dola. And Scott and I really bonded because we were pretty much lost in Korea without anyone to assist us. It was a wonderful Congress. The level of dance in Korea, and that was in 2013, was incredible. And they, at that time, they were all on too, which was like, oh my God. You understand? It was like, it was crazy. And they just had a lot of great intermediates. They had, of course, some fabulous, pro-like dancers, but they had so many technically sound intermediate dancers. And it was just, and then culturally, it was just really, different. And Jimmy it was just a whole potpourri of experiences, like something extremely different, even from Europe, which I love to dance in Europe. But going to Korea, it was a very special thing. SalsaCon was a wonderful, wonderful experience. I wish he could have continued with it. Maybe he will bring it back. But a couple of DC people went. We had a wonderful time. I think Janet went. I believe Janet Valdivia went. But we had a fabulous time.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned Europe. Could you elaborate on some of the other countries that you went to while you in Europe that you went to dancing?
I went to Paris a couple of times. I went to I don't know if it was the last. I went to the Paris Salsa Festival, I think in 2008. By far, that was just mind-blowing. And this was before Muaz started doing his event, which is, I understand, is just as thrilling. But for me, that was the pinnacle. Paris in general was, they had all these cool little places you could go during the week. Fabulous. London, I went to a little place. It was their last festival. It was by the seaside. I wish I could remember. It was in this little quaint little town, like something you would see in an Agatha Christie novel. It was crazy. All the hotels were on cobbled little streets, and it was almost like an Olympic Village. And then they had in the middle, the center was this big bazaar by the ocean, and then they had this big, huge auditorium. And amazing. Went to Barcelona. They had a congress. Funny story with that. I went through all these crazy things to try to because I didn't speak the language. I went with Arthur. We didn't speak the language. We didn't know how to get the tickets. So Armando, who was Albert Torres's partner, I was dealing with him so he could help me get passes. We get over there in Barcelona, and the actual event is in a town in Catalan where they don't really speak Spanish. And we get to the registration booth, and guess what? They didn't have our tickets. And we don't speak the language, and it was just crazy. And up comes, and I think I was with two other people, Clara and David. And up comes Albert Torres. He's walking through, of course, receiving his accolades, like I'm Albert Torres, like a king coming through. Right. But for us, it was like that drop of water, like, help us, we can't get into this festival. And he immediately jumped to our aid. We told him what happened. He sat us on the front row for the next 3 nights. Albert Torres, fabulous guy. I went to Berlin, had a wonderful time there. London, love London. I went a couple of times to London. Salsa abroad. I mean, I love my salsa in New York and DC, but salsa in Europe, it's and I'm talking about the festivals in particular, but it's just amazing. Quite frankly, it's amazing. But New York is still my first love for dance, salsa dance, Mambo.
Do you? Yeah, you do. I've seen you, so I'm not going to ask that question. I have seen you dance on one before, so.
I love dancing on one with someone who actually dances on one. You dance on one, I'm great. I love it. If you can dance on one, let's do it. And some songs actually feel better on one. They emphasize the first beat. It makes more sense to me to dance that song on one. I'll dance it on 2, but if someone asks me to dance it on 1, I will sink into that melody, that rhythm. I'll have a blast.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you got some good stuff here. All right. So, preference. If the band is swinging, live music or records?
I prefer live music, mainly because there's an energy with live music that you don't get with songs on vinyl. Well, not on vinyl per se, but you don't get with pre-recorded music. Having said that, what I do not prefer are long songs, for dancing purposes. That's of course the bane of any, dancer, hardcore dancer who dances all night. It's the bane of our existence. Well, the bane of my existence.
Right. Well, back in the old days, as they said, they used to dance for 20, 30 minutes. When people tell me that, I say that was then. We don't we don't dance like that now.
Because the way the dance is in the social scene, you want to trade partners. We're not monogamous in the dance, in terms of dancing. You want 4 to 6 minutes and you want to change partners, unless this is your, your bestie in dance or whatever. You don't, I want to get a new experience. You just always want that new experience.
If the band is slamming and they got some big band horns, and that conga's right, I can go 8, but I can't go past 8 minutes. But I gotta have somebody that can dance, and the music. I gotta have those horns. I can go 8. Past 8, come on, guys. But Edwin Ortiz and La Mafia y La One Cole.
Fabulous.
They play fabulous. Their songs don't
go fantastic.
They be slamming.
They're fantastic. They're the jewel of Washington, D.C., honestly. They're fantastic. And we have great bands in D.C., but I'm more familiar with them. Uh-huh. They're fantastic, fabulous.
Well, that's what Edwin was saying the other day. They're trying to create a D.C. sound. We have great musicians here in this town. We really, really do. But Edwin in that group, and they got Vivian singing, I'm there. I'm ready to go,
Yeah.
But I think in general, whether you're a dance or not, I think in general, most people like live music over records.
Yeah.
It makes you feel it. You feel that beat, right?
Yeah. And like you said, that surpasses genre. It's not just a Latin music thing. I prefer my go-go live. The only thing that I guess live that you don't get a lot of is house music, and that I can deal with pre-recorded as long as the DJ is just on point and can really speak to the soul. But beyond that, R&B, live music, baby, live music.
I don't even understand what these people are talking about. But we've been going very nice. And we haven't said anything crazy. We've both been doing a great job realizing that we're talking in front of people and we're not,
this is filtered.
And we're not talking on the phone. Okay.
This is filtered because we get hot and spicy and not so nice sometimes. So this is nice and filtered.
But I'm gonna break the filter. Most of the people who say they don't like live music, they can dance. Okay. But anyway.
No comment.
The filter's back up.
Filter.
That's crazy stuff. So, Tanya, you know what? I guess you're so busy, you don't really have time to say, hey, nobody never recognizes me that I'm running the biggest social in the longest social in DC. You don't have time to be looking for some recognition. But for those who are watching, Tanya has been awarded a Lifetime Achievement Award from the Capitol Congress. And we all know Shaka. Shaka is all about excellence.
For sure.
Okay?
For sure.
And you received a Lifetime Achievement Award from the Capitol Congress? The Capitol Congress.
I was humbled. Yeah, I was humbled by that. Grateful and humbled.
That's big stuff. That's big stuff. Shaka is just not giving that award away to anybody. Shaka, he a real nice guy, but he don't really put up for no BS. Like I said,
not at all.
It come from him is excellent. I was so excited for you when you got that thing. I was like, look at the time
Thank you. Thank you. It was wonderful. It was wonderful. It was wonderful.
Okay, we don't want to get teary-eyed. Hey, so Okay, you're jamming, and this was before you even started going to Europe. Tell us about your experience dancing with Meslakutis.
Uh, so what let me tell you about that. So again, I didn't realize that I was doing the hard two and that there was another on two that was becoming standard, sweeping, becoming standard in the US at least, and throughout the world, which is the Eddie Torres on two. So my first understanding of that was when I went, and I was dragged to this as well, when I went to your Salsa Cruise in 2005.
Mm-hmm.
Let me tell you, I wasn't that interested in going. Changed my life. Changed my life. It did. It did. It showed me where Mambo was going. I was on a cruise with many people who later became, within quick fashion, became superstars. You had Sekou, you had Magna, you had Juan. I don't know why I can't remember his last name. Juan Matos. You had Ishmael. You just had so many people on one ship. So by that time, even though, and I'm going to take off the filter a little bit because you already know I was pretty much drunk throughout most of that cruise. But I did understand at that point, taking a few classes, Grizel was there. I did understand that, hey, wait a minute, they're doing a different one too. So I realized, I said, I was talking to my partner in crime, and I was like, we need to, I need to learn the other one too. So basically, because he was like, we need to join this class by Sion, Meslocutus. And so it was a student group. It was I keep using the word amazing, but it definitely, it was a whirlwind to be in that group with so many hungry dancers in DC, hungry to get better, hungry to fulfill their passion, hungry to express themselves on the stage. Where you had me, I just wanted to learn the proper step, for the Eddie Torres one too. Quite frankly, that first season, and I did perform, I still didn't understand the timing. I still didn't understand, not the timing, I didn't understand the footwork, because it was so ingrained for me 10 years prior to go back on my two, right on two. And by the second time I joined his second season, it finally was like an epiphany. He was taking us up to Frankie Martinez. And between Frankie Martinez, he's a very philosophical dude in his classes. You're going to get like 15 minutes of footwork and maybe 40 minutes of talking, but that talking was very instrumental in organizing my head around what I needed to be doing to conquer the Eddie Torres on two. And it sounds so simple, but for someone who had, I had the muscle memory of the Rasmus Pass. So Sion's group, it was an amazing experience for me. I met so many people. I saw that hunger. I adopted that hunger. They were very competitive, but they acted like a family. Sion was very philosophical, and he had very mind expansive ideas about dance. It was incredible. And I sunk into that. And so all of that started to form me as a dancer to seek out a higher level, to seek out a higher experience, to understand more holistically what Mambo was about, and to get a background in the music and the theory behind it. So incredible experience.
Yeah. I love the routine. I said, look at little Tanya out there. They had art out there. Tanya, I was dying laughing when I saw it. But it was one night you guys hit it at I think the DC Salsa Congress. Maybe, am I right? Did you guys perform the DC?
Yeah, we did. We did.
Y'all hit it that night, boy. And I was like, wow, that was hot. I was like, I'm gonna try to get in that group since nobody else will let me in their group. That was some really, really good stuff. So you've danced all over the world. You won awards. I know you got big plans for when this COVID thing is over. I know you're like me. You're afraid to death of that COVID. You ain't messing around. But when you come back, I believe it's going to be stronger.
I do too.
Stronger than ever.
I do too.
On another note, while I have you here, what is your theory on uh, the black race crying about they want equality, and then we get a chance to get a black vice president, and nothing but black people are trying to tear her down? What do you think about
that? Okay, let me apply some filters here.
Okay, please apply the filters.
I don't understand it. Now there's this Rorschach test about who's black. I'm like, this is crazy. Before, everyone understood, at least in America, you were judged by one drop of black blood. Now we have to delineate who's really black. And I think the real issue that these people are having is that they're saying she's not African American. And I don't think the whole black ethos is about just the African American experience. Yes, we've suffered horribly, but the problem is black people worldwide. This lady is claiming she's black. This is what she's identified. This is what her whole experience has shown, that she identifies as black. She claims her Indian heritage, but she identifies as black. Now you're saying, but she's really not African American. I didn't know the standard for picking a person of color was African American or Black American. So I reject it. If that's what people feel and they want to argue among themselves, I leave them to that. But I reject that. I support her wholeheartedly. Now, I had issues just like everyone else with her, with some of her choices as a prosecutor. But honestly, that was her job at the time. And I'm not going to split hairs, because she was doing her job.
Right.
Biden-Harris 2020. That's what I think. Okay. And that's it.
That's it. We'll move on. We don't need to get no further. We don't, I don't understand. These people on Facebook talking about they losing friends because somebody's political views and all that. First of all, if you're a people person, you should have known what kind of person you was dealing with when you danced with them anyway. If you knew them, if you were close to them, you would have known whether they were redneck or not. You should have, or you got bad people skills. First of all, I'm going to go back and dance with everybody I ever danced with. I don't care what they wrote on Facebook. If they dance on me, I'm going to dance with them. I'm not going to let these people bring this real life drama into a fantasy world that I lived in for 25 years. You're not going to spoil my fun bringing all that. I don't care if you're a Republican, Democrat, whatever. It's about, not with me, it's not black or white. It's wrong or right. That's what it is with me. Okay? I don't get into it like that. If you danced on beat before this COVID and all this crap, I'm going to dance with you when I see you. People lose.
But you're going to dance with the beginners who don't dance on beat, right?
I wouldn't.
You're going to. You're going to also dance with the beginners.
Oh, as long as I'm a promoter, I'm going to dance with I'm looking for beginners. You already know I have split personality. If I'm not a promoter, don't even think about dancing with me if you can't dance. But if I'm in a promoter mode, which I've been for the last 17 years, I'm grabbing people off the floor. I'm dancing. I don't even dance with nobody I know when I go out. I don't need to dance. Right. I need new people. We always need new people. That's why I've always taught beginners for 17 years. I'm not trying to teach no intermediate. But enough about me. This interview is about you. So,
but I want to say something, Earl. Uh-huh. I want to let people know about the influence and the impact you've had on me. So, because I don't think a lot of people know that I blossom into this monster type promoter who will spam every day with no conscience, no shame, because of being under your tutelage when you partnered with my dad for that 2 or 3 year period with Mr. Mambo's. And actually, you're the reason why Mr. Mambo's became popular with, the dancers. And then we started, growing and becoming bigger. But because of you every day saying, Tanya, what are you doing? You're waiting once a week to put an ad out? What are you doing? You need to do something every day. What are you doing? And just you hammering it in to me that, the types of skills I needed to learn to become a promoter.
Well,
I really owe you a big debt for that, and I want people to know that you're responsible for me just being an asshole on Facebook and not caring. You're responsible for it. And I thank you for it, because Mr. Mambo's thrived because of what you taught me, and I applied it with a vengeance. So everybody, Earl Rush.
You're crazy, Tanya.
Serious.
You're crazy. But
I'm serious.
People don't understand it has to be done every day. And I get so frustrated because I'm really into it pre-COVID, because right now I don't really care nothing about that no more. I'm just trying to stay alive.
Right.
But pre-COVID, I mean, there would be salsa promoters. We don't need to say no names because we do have a filter. People would promote the event on the same day of the event. Now, it's none of my business, but it still affects the scene that I'm in, because it's piss poor promotion. Okay? Now, I appreciate you acknowledging that you learned a little bit something from me.
A lot.
But we've been talking for, okay, we got time. I want to tell everybody people who don't know me and who don't know you, and this is a true story, so you listen up. If anybody knows anything about my business partner and one of my best friends, Lee El Gringuito, and La Gata, his lovely wife, and myself, if you know anything about us, we don't really care about when somebody does some event. We don't care about that. We're going to, whatever, if we can make some dough, we're going to do it. Now, this is how much respect that I've had for you and your father. In 15 years, I've only had 4 events on the date there was a second or fourth Saturday. That was out of respect for you and father, your father. Not only that, I didn't do it because I didn't think I'd be able to have a party that could beat that party anyway. So it's out of respect for common sense. Third, Mr. Mambo's is a community party. Why would I want to split up the scene in community to try to go against a night that's one of the best nights out here? It just never made sense. But the first thing and not just me, and other promoters may not admit it, the first thing they look at the event, the first thing they say, and this is how awesome you and your father are, is it on a second or a fourth Saturday? That's the first. You can't get any more respect. You can't.
I appreciate that.
How many weeks in a year? 52, right? 10. That's 520. What? 5 more years? 520. It's 260. 520, 260 out of 860 weeks. Well, you took that in half because of it was every second fourth. But at the end, you were doing the third Saturday too. You've been rolling. I mean, I just want to tell you I have so much respect for you.
Well, let me jump in there, because we did not do parties for your white party or for the resolution jam. And I could get money for doing it. And I would tell you all the time, I'm not going to do that party. And that was, again, that reciprocal respect for years. And you know that. So that came from me and my dad. So much respect and love for you, Earl. I think you know that.
Thank you so much. So I know you're looking forward to COVID being over, but I wanted to ask you before you go, how do you wear so many hats? How do you juggle so many responsibilities? Do you know, or you just do it?
I don't think I'm alone in someone who juggles a lot of responsibilities. I don't think, I think most people who have a family, it's a lot of responsibilities. I think anyone who has parents, that are older, I think a lot of people are in that situation. So people who have families, there's a balance, you have to do. So I've been very thankful that my husband has been supportive of the time that I don't give him when I'm hyper focused on parties.
Right.
He doesn't like it. sometimes, but he's very supportive of me. And so that helps. He's very supportive. So, you know, I don't know. It's stuff you want to do. So I'm going to still take care of my responsibilities, but I want to have parties. I want to have parties. So, that's what I want to do. That's now, it's just something I've become, a promoter.
Right. That's what you want to do. So you already have stated that the New York Salsa Congress the New York scene is your favorite scene. Do you have a couple of particular New York salsa congresses that stand out in your mind that you can think of offhand, or you just loved all of them?
Now, are you speaking of New York only or just
New York Salsa Congress?
Okay, well, I've only been to New York Salsa Congress. I went there for years,
Did you have a particular one? I have a particular one that was my favorite. I thought maybe you might have had one or two. If not,
yeah, for me, I'm a voyeur. I'm a people watcher. I'm somebody that likes to see subcultures, and I like to observe them and just see what people are about. So for me, I can't even think of a particular one because it wasn't just dance that I got from the New York Salsa Congress.
Okay.
It was just, it was a lot more than that. So, and when I would go up there, I was going up there for house music too. So no, I can't think of one because,
right.
and I love the socials, to be honest with you. The socials are big for me in New York. They were.
You love
big
them.
For me in New York. Jimmy's, and then LVG, these are, big salt, and then I remember when Salsa Union started, I was feeling that. And then I think the first of the month, I love the socials there. So it wasn't just about the congresses. So no, I don't have a particular year. It was the whole experience.
Okay. Well, mine for me was either 2008 or 9. Stevie Green and Corwin in Utah.
Yeah.
They had not quite made it yet. They weren't in the main room.
I remember.
But they were out in the lobby. And
right.
Corwin and Stephen Green, I'm telling you, they were out of control.
But I remember we talked about it there. We were there.
Exactly. And I had also got DJ Neo and DJ Jose Rodriguez and DJ Andy were playing in the main room. Okay, so all my people were playing, and by that time I wasn't getting snubbed in New York. People knew me, so I could always get a dance. So I just had a blast. That year. It's probably 2008. I'll ask Corn later.
I think you're right.
That was the best New York Salsa Congress for me. Everybody had their favorite. I'm just talking about mine. You know what I'm saying? So that's how we deal with that. And let's see what else we got. Have we covered pretty much everything? I'm sure I got some other stuff I need to talk to you about before I let you go. So you're teaching. You're having fabulous classes at your workshops on Saturday. How did you go about getting so many young kids to start participating in Miss Mambo? That's the key of your operation. You get these young kids coming from high school and college, and you're always going to have people going to Mr. Mambo's. How did that happen?
That wasn't from me or my dad. That was something that happened. It was serendipity, or really was Paula Perdo. I don't know if I'm pronouncing her name right.
Yeah.
And it might have been Shaka. I think Shaka, Irene. So Shaka Brown, Irene Holtzman, and Paula Perdo. They would contact me about, first of all, the kids coming to perform. That was the first step. And we said, yeah, because we were in all ages social, especially before let me just leave it at that. We're in all ages social. So, there were always a few kids coming, very few. But then I think Shaka and Irene impressed upon their kids when they were training them that this was a safe haven for them. Our social, I have to thank them for that. They said that Mr. Mambo's was a safe haven. And so those kids started coming. And, it wasn't a thing that I reached out to them, but once they started coming, Paula reached out to me and said, hey, can you give a discount to just the kids of Einstein? That's how it first started. So I was like, okay, I'm going to have a student discount. And then other people from other schools started hitting me up. Well, hey, can my kids get a discount? Because I guess the kids were spreading around, and I love those kids. Let me tell you, they saved us quite a night, when Mr. Mambo started not being as popular. We were always popular with the kids in the last 5 years. So, you get 20 to 40 kids, I was still able to maintain, some nights, so, and it was just great because it created a diverse environment, a diverse dynamic where you had all generations, truly all generations. I could truthfully say from 14 to 70, 65, people were interacting and intermingling, so I have to thank those people, Paula, Pedo, and Shaka Brown, Irene Holtzman, and there are probably other angels. And I don't know the names of the other coordinators there are 2 other schools, but they reached out to me and I let them know I definitely, I wanted to support them any way I could. And they always got a big discount. And so they started coming because it was affordable for them. And they were able to soak in the culture and develop outside of their training program. So it was a win-win. And I thank them for that. I thank them for supporting Mr. Mambo's. I thank everybody for supporting Mr. Mambo's, but it was definitely special that I seem to have a lot of younger people that come to Mr. Mambo's. It's a wonderful thing.
That's definitely some good stuff, So, wow. I'm going to be honest with you, Tanya. We're going to have to wrap this up because when I talk to you on the phone sometimes, after dementia sets in, I was getting ready to ask you something. I can't even remember what I was doing. Now, and I'm sitting here, I don't want to be stuttering. We're going to have to wrap this up because I forgot what I was
That's okay. I think we covered a lot of topics. I really appreciate and I'm grateful that you found me worthy to join the pantheon of guests of Earl Rush.
You crazy. So, Tanya, I don't know if a lot of people know that you love to write. Can you elaborate on your passion for writing?
The passion for writing stemmed from the passion for reading. My mom taught me to read. I think I was like 4, 3.5 or 4. And I was always a talker. And my parents had downstairs in the basement, it was fully walled with a library, like the entire, we were in a single family home. It was like 7 or 8 bookcases of books, and I would devour those books. And because this was pre-internet at that time, I would start, I had ideas. I wanted to produce, I wanted to do different stuff. So I would journal. And then I would start gathering kids to act out my little plays. And I would start telling people I'm going to be a movie producer. And I'd start writing stories. And then, I don't know, in school, people saw that I had a talent for writing. And Jim Vance, remember the late Jim Vance, the news program, he had a program for young people in DC, and it was a journalism program. And I was 10, and I was around other highly type A, highly competitive kids, a lot of white kids, and some black kids, but mainly a lot of white kids, but they were so competitive and so hyper type A, and I was like, oh nah, I'm gonna be better. That's my whole thing. Nah, you can't write better than me. I was just like, so I just started honing my skills, and I started speaking different places, and which of course caused me to write. And my church, to be honest with you, my church, they really developed young people, and I would always be on the podium speaking. So that meant I had to write my speech.
Okay.
So,
yeah, you were multi-talented here. I've been seeing on Facebook that you've been working out recently, running around, and how's that going for you?
For the last 2 weeks, I've had to actually modulate it. At first, it was going well. I'd lost 10 pounds in like a month and a half, because I was really like anything. Once I start, I go, I do the deep dive, and I used to be a runner for years and years. But then when my dad, he moved in, I bought him home from the nursing home, but I bought him to live with me so I could take care of him and he could have a more protective environment. Slowly but surely that transition, my schedule, I'm still trying to work it out. So, trying to work out that balance to make sure he's taken care of.
Right.
And I'm still working, even though from home, I still have a job.
And your father's coming along pretty good.
He is. He is. It's a transition for both of us.
Thank God.
But he's doing well.
Yeah, he is. Now, one more thing before I let you go, Tanya, because I know you got 100 things to do, and I really appreciate you coming by.
Thank you for inviting me.
I want you to elaborate. I have two things, actually. Did you come in on the tail end of Zanzibar, or you never got to go to Zanzibar?
No, I think the tail end. Well, so I started going to Zanzibar I think I first visited it in maybe 2003. And when she would have these big pageant type of programs that would take up most of the night, all these performers. Right. But at that point, I wasn't really into the social dance. So I would just accompany my dad because he was just determined to get me interested. Right. But by 2005, I was going regularly. Okay. So I was going on Wednesdays. Okay. And Zanzibar was wonderful. For at least the next year or two. Right. And then I guess it started, different other things started coming up. And, most of these clubs have a life cycle. Eileen had a wonderful run. She had a special place. But yes, I was a part of Zanzibar during some of its high times.
Okay. All right. One more thing and I'm going to let you go.
Okay.
You probably have more footage of social dancing than anybody in the last 15 years in the DMV. What are some of the things you had to deal with as far as artists about their videos and things? Just tell me some of the silly, egotistical stuff that you had to go through for some of these artists.
Okay. Let me put up a halfway filter. Artists are sensitive. They're sensitive. I'm a very pragmatic type of person. Artists really, they think about their image. I respect that. I have a different perspective, but they've spent years not just honing their talent, but honing their image and their brand. So if you catch an artist dancing with someone that maybe is not, I don't know what I don't want to assume what's going on in their head, but I'm going to speculate that if the person they're dancing with is not the way maybe they're supposed to look or whatever, or they're not following as well, or just doesn't fit their idea, they don't want you to publish that video. It's amazing. And I'm talking about a social dance video, and they will contact me and tell me, can you take that video down? Now, some artists, in particular women, and they were right, because I'm so focused on the dance, I won't even see that maybe the woman's shirt, because of sweat or whatever, is a little see-through. And maybe, her upper area it's transparent, and it's seen and it's exposed in a way, even though she has on a shirt. So my eye doesn't even see things like that. I'm looking at the dance. And I'm looking to see if there's chemistry. Right. And then people will have to contact me, Tanya, did you look at that video? Oh, okay. Right. And then once I see what they see, I quickly, I'm like, oh my God, I take it down. So sometimes there are those types of concerns. Yeah. But usually, if they think that their partner is not up to par, not the pretty girl, not the whatever, they don't want you to publish that video. Mm-hmm. It is what it is.
Mm-hmm. I know I used to take pictures back in the day, and people were, can you? I mean, back in the day when I was hot, rolling, having crazy
You're
parties.
still hot.
I'm still not. But anyway, look, they call me. Can you take down that picture? I'm like, honey, I got a party going on Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday. I'm doing this, I'm doing that. I don't have time to go through 300 pictures that I had taken for your picture. No, I can't. I've been called asshole, all kinds of stuff because I wouldn't take people's pictures and stuff down. I just don't have I don't have a big team. Okay, so I can't take time out to go back and find some stupid picture or some picture because somebody's hair wasn't right. But
well, you know what? One last thing I want to tell you about that. You reminded me. One other reason why people want videos taken down, they're at a place they're not supposed to be, dancing with somebody they're not supposed to be dancing with.
see,
Honestly.
there you go. And that's that. And we don't have nothing to do with all of that. But what can you say? Tanya, this was such a great experience. I really appreciate you taking time
Thank you so much, Earl.
out of your hectic schedule. And before you go, this is the last time. I was disappointed in our turnout at that party we had. We had about
Me
280, maybe 3. What the hell?
Yeah.
We'll do it another time and it'll be a little better. It was just a funny time. 280? Now, I know people would be dying if they had 280 at that party, but neither one of us had parties like that. No, that was
Yeah. I was disappointed. I don't know what happened, but we got to try it again one day.
Tanya, thank you so much. It was a pleasure.
Same here.
A very blessed, productive day. Tell your father that I said hello. All right?
For sure.
Talk to you later. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye, Earl. Thank you.
Okay.